today we'll talk about Steve Haines and how he fooled no one else but himself and how that led to his demise. So Steve Haines is an interesting character and I often like comparing him to Tenpenny from GTA San Andreas. They were both delusional in the sense that they thought that what they were doing and that their methods were good for other people and the country in general. They both thought genuinely that they were these savior type entities destined to clean up the country and keep it safe, while also being thoroughly convinced that they themselves were such good people that they are above any kind of rules. We can see this with Steve throughout pretty much the entire game. From the very first scene we meet this guy, the way he talks to Michael, he thinks he can do whatever the hell he wants with whoever the hell he wants, and he even at one point gets Michael sort of in a chokehold. He grabs him by the neck, just as an intimidation move. And from this scene at least, it does look like he can do whatever the hell he wants to Michael, because he's essentially blackmailing him into working for him, and if he doesn't, he threatens that he'll expose Michael's true identity. So it really looks like Michael has no exit out of this. But that's not the only thing that Steve is delusional about throughout the entire game. If we fast forward to the mission by the book, Steve is so convinced that this innocent guy, Mr. K, is a terrorist or a threat to national security or whatever the fuck. It really does seem like it's just pure coincidence, because Mr. K happens to have done some work for some guy and is not a terrorist by any means, but since he's done work for some dude who is apparently on Steve Haines' shit list, yeah, he's automatically a terrorist in his eyes. There's also in that same mission the matter of Trevor, who Steve Haines thinks he can manipulate and make him do whatever the hell he wants, similar to Michael, while similar to Devin Weston, having no idea who he's actually messing with, but we'll get to that later when we talk about the last third of the game. There's a funny scene that further proves how much Steve is actually convinced that he's a good guy compared to the IAA, and that's just before the Blitz Play setups, when he talks all this shit about the IAA, going off and off about them being corrupt and selling drugs and doing anything to increase their government funding, when Steve is literally no different, but he has this mentality of, oh, if the government and the IAA don't know what I'm doing to get my hands on their money, then I'm the good guy, all while ordering 3 robbers to steal government bonds for him. Then we move on to the Mission Monkey business, and he does pretty much the same thing while pointing the finger at the IAA once again. So he steals a nerve toxin from their facility, which the IAA was planning on dropping on a metropolitan area of the US to increase their funding for fighting terrorism. And while initially what Steve's doing here might seem like a good thing, Steve didn't do this out of him just being a good guy. All of this was to make the IAA look worse in the eyes of the government, while making himself look like the saint he believes to be. Real quick, if you're enjoying this video though, please do me a favor, like it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, also check out my second Kingdom Hearts channel and my channel memberships, all of which is going to be down in the description. Eventually the rest of the FIB and the IAA finally see through his bullshit, and he sends Michael and his crew to delete files on him by breaking into the FIB building. This would be the final nail in the coffin, as Michael just managed to delete the very files on him, Trevor, and likely Franklin that Steve was blackmailing them with. Going back to the beginning of the game briefly, remember when I said Steve thought he could make them do anything that he wants? Yeah, it does look like things are about to change, because despite the files being deleted, Steve's career goes to shit, and he attempts to now have Michael and Dave arrested to eliminate them both as loose ends and send them to prison so that they cannot testify against him in court. Though he didn't count on one thing, and that's that Sanchez was for all this time investigating him for the FIB, so however things went in the wrap-up mission, Steve's career is gone, and he now has to also worry about Michael and Trevor, who know exactly everything that went down because, well, they helped Steve out with all this shady shit. So he now tries to get rid of Trevor through Franklin, and this would be his one fatal mistake, because he again thought that he could make the crew do whatever the hell he wants, all while forgetting or either not caring about the fact that he is dealing with 3 dangerous killers. Steve at this point does not have much evidence on the main trio since they deleted the files, however he is still a threat, and that's also the reason that he had to be killed during the final mission, because he could still frame them for something, do something to put them in jail or have them killed. There's still options for him. Steve would then of course be killed in the final mission of the game, although he wouldn't, even in the moments leading up to his death, realize that not only was he not capable of controlling dangerous people like he thought he was, but also that he was never the good guy that he presented himself as, and that he believed he genuinely was. And this is in fact proven in his final moments while he's filming his TV show, on which he presents sees himself just like he does to us in the cutscenes as this great entity who is meant to save America, while really being a giant joke. And with that said, I want to thank you for watching this video. Leave your thoughts and opinions on this topic in the comments down below. Until the next video stream, bye bye.